Hi, this is Kenny, co-founder of Aiskyra. Today's quick tutorial is about how to find therapeutic alternatives for medications that are unavailable or on backorder. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do this. First and simplest is type in your message asking for therapeutic alternatives. So here I've just typed in Spiriva therapeutic alternatives and I'll click send. Okay, let's look at the clinical discussion. Aiskyra has identified Spiriva as a long-acting muscarinic antagonist, or a LAMA, and it's going to provide similar medication. If we scroll down, we can see a chart with all the therapeutic alternatives. For example, Seebri, Incruz, Dorza, Inspiolto, and Singulair. And of course, because we're only looking at LAMAs, probably just focused on the first 3, Seebri, Incruz, Dorza. If you keep scrolling, you can see the list of references that were cited, and if you want to do more research, you can click any of them to go directly to the reference. And at the very end, there's also some suggested follow-up questions to prompt more thinking about the topic. So while simply just typing in the drug name and the words therapeutic alternatives can be very effective, it may not answer specifically a question that you had in mind. So let's look at a second option. We're actually going to go to the drug shortage monitor on our AI tools on the left-hand side here. And you can see that codeine is on back order. We're going to click find alternatives. And you'll see at the bottom, the entire prompt has been pre-filled for you. Okay, so let's look at the clinical discussion. So first, you'll notice that the prompt is not simply asking for therapeutic alternatives. We're also asking about dosing equivalencies. You can see in the clinical discussion, Aiskyra has identified that if there's a non-opioid analgesic that could be substituted for codeine, such as acetaminophen or an NSAID, that would be preferred. However, morphine can be used as an alternative. And if we look at the dosing and equivalence, it will explain the typical morphine equivalent dosing. And if we scroll down, you can see the therapeutic alternatives for codeine, which are morphine, oxycodone, and hydromorphone. If we scroll down further, there are typically safety and monitoring considerations. And lastly, in the references section, you can look up any of the references that were cited. So let's look at the third option, which is very useful if you want to find a therapeutic alternative that is also covered by the provincial formulary, for example, Ontario Drug Benefit, and you want to write a letter to the prescriber to get this medication changed. In this scenario, you would use the pre-filled clinical prompts. So at the bottom, we're going to click that button, drug backorder form, type in Spiriva for COPD, and submit. Okay, so let's look at the answer. It looks different than the previous answers because of the keywords covered therapeutic alternatives form. That's actually a keyword to Aiskyra to create a form or a letter. So what we're going to do is we can click open form and we'll download this as a Microsoft Word document. Okay, so we've opened up Microsoft Word. You can see in the first section, it's just information about the pharmacy and the prescriber and the patient, followed by a summary of the problem to solve, and then 3 options for the prescriber to take. One of them is Dorza, Incruz, and Seebri, followed by the prescriber's authorization. And because this is in Word, you can remove an option, add an option, and edit this document as much as you like before you send it off. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye.